The United Kingdom's Ministry of Defense Intelligence update on Ukraine, June 6, 2023. Over the last 48 hours, there has been a substantial increase in fighting along numerous sectors of the front, including those which have been relatively quiet for several months. Concurrently, the feud between Wagner Group and the Russian Ministry of Defense has reached an unprecedented level. For the first time, Wagner owner Yevgeny Prigozhin has claimed that the army has employed deliberate, lethal force against Wagner units. Following an altercation, Wagner has likely detained a Russian army brigade commander. Most of Wagner's forces have now been withdrawn from Bakhmut. With Russia short of reserve units, the degree to which Wagner remains responsive to the Ministry of Defense will be a key factor in the conflict over the coming weeks. The Air Force Command of Ukraine Armed Forces update. On the night of June 6, 2023, between 12:30 a.m. and 4 a.m., Russia launched Kh-101, Kh-555 air-based cruise missiles to Ukraine. They traditionally launched from the Caspian Sea area with 6 Tu-95 MS strategic bombers. All 35 cruise missiles were neutralized by the air defense of the Air Force of Ukraine. Most of the X-101, X-555 were headed in the direction of the capital, to the area of the Center Air Command. The Institute for the Study of War Russian Offensive Campaign Assessment. Damage to the Kakhovka hydroelectric power plant dam in the early hours of June 6 caused massive flooding of the Dnipro River delta, river wetlands, estuaries, and shoreline settlements in Kherson Oblast. Russian and Ukrainian sources began reporting loud noises resembling explosions emanating from the Kakhovka hydroelectric power plant. Across the Dnipro River in the Nova Kakhovka area, about 55 kilometers northeast of Kherson City, between 2 a.m. and 2:30 a.m. local time on June 6, followed by reports of rushing water and an overall increase in the water level of the Dnipro. Ukraine's Kherson Oblast administration announced the evacuation of several rayons, districts of the west right bank of Kherson Oblast as of 7:30 a.m. local time, and reported that the Tyahinka, Odrodo-Kamyanka, Berislav, Ivanivka, Mykelsky, Tokarivka, Ponyativka, Bilozerka, and Ostrov areas had been partially or completely flooded. Russian Kherson Oblast occupation officials announced the evacuation of the Nova Kakhovka, Ola Pristan, and Oleshki rayons. Ukrainian officials noted that over 80 settlements are within the flood zone in Kherson Oblast. General Director of Ukraine's hydroelectric power plant regulator Ukrhydroenergo Ihor Syroda said that water is draining from the Kakhovka reservoir at a rate of 15 to 20 centimeters an hour, which Syroda stated means that the reservoir will be entirely dry in the next 4 days. A researcher at the Ukrainian Department of Water, Bioresources at the Kherson Oblast Agrarian and Economic University, Yevhen Korzov, noted that the rate of water discharge from the dam may lead to flooding as far downstream as Kizimys, about 120 kilometers southwest from the Kakhovka hydroelectric power plant. A Russian military blogger claimed that the water level in Nova Kakhovka, immediately adjacent to the Kakhovka hydroelectric power plant, reached as high as 11 meters. Various Russian sources additionally highlighted footage showing that several east-left bank settlements, including Oleshki, Korsunka, and Dnipriani, are entirely or nearly entirely underwater. The Institute for the Study of War key takeaways today. The International Atomic Energy Agency and Ukrainian officials stated that the drop in the water level at the Kakhovka reservoir should not affect the safety of the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant. Ukrainian officials stated that Russian forces intentionally destroyed the Kakhovka hydroelectric power plant dam and suggested that the Russian military did not prepare for subsequent flooding. Russian officials accused Ukrainian forces of destroying the Kakhovka hydroelectric power plant dam and used the allegations to bolster ongoing efforts to portray Ukrainian assaults elsewhere in Ukraine as immediate failures. Russian forces conducted another large-scale missile strike across Ukraine on the night of June 5 to 6. Wagner Group financier Yevgeny Prigozhin continued to directly threaten the Russian Ministry of Defense and the Russian military command if they do not fulfill his demands for a larger independent army and political influence in Russia. Ukrainian officials offered assurances that the damage to the dam and subsequent flooding will not impede Ukrainian counteroffensive preparations. Russian forces conducted limited ground attacks along the Svatov-Kreminna line. Russian sources claimed that Ukrainian forces continued ground attacks north and southwest of Bakhmut, and Russian forces continued limited offensive operations along the Avdiivka-Donetsk line. Ukrainian forces continued ground attacks in southwestern Donetsk and in eastern Zaporizhzhia oblasts. Wagner Group financier Yevgeny Prigozhin claimed that the Russian 72nd Separate Motorized Rifle Brigade is part of the irregular 6th Division. Russian officials and occupation authorities continue efforts to use infrastructure projects to integrate occupied territories into Russia.